Good evening. Our next session that is regarding the collision theory. This collision theory it is developed by Arrhenius and Van Hoff. Arrhenius and Van Hoff. Vanth Arrhenius and Van Hoff. And also according to this collision theory, see if for a chemical reaction to take place, what happens is that the molecules of the reacting substances should collide with each other. That is the first point. The molecules of the reacting substances or the reactant molecules should collide with each other in order to have a reaction. Okay. So, and also it is not just sufficient for the molecules to collide with each other. Also, the collisions, sometimes these collisions may be effective and sometimes it might not be effective. Okay, so two types of collisions will be there, effective and ineffective collisions. Only effective collisions will be leading to the formation of products. Okay, only effective collisions will be leading to the formation of products. So this is the main point of this this collision theory. See, according to this collision theory, the molecules of the reacting substances should collide with each other, and also only effective collisions will lead to the product formation, and also only a very small fraction of molecules will be having effective collisions. Only very small fraction of the molecules will be having effective collisions. Will be having effective collisions. Okay, and also for the collisions to be effective, two conditions are there. For effective collisions, two conditions are there. The first condition is that the molecules should possess threshold energy. What is threshold energy? It is the minimum amount of energy required by the molecule to take part in a reaction, or the minimum energy possessed by the colliding molecules. Okay, so that is the threshold energy. The minimum energy possessed by the colliding molecules. Minimum energy possessed by the colliding molecules, that is called as the threshold energy. And the second condition is that the molecules of the reactants, it should collide with proper orientation. The colliding molecules should have a proper orientation for the colliding molecule. So these are the two essential conditions for a molecule to have effective collision. Okay, it should have a minimum amount of energy called as the threshold energy, and the second one, it should have a proper orientation. Okay, then the next is collision theory of bimolecular reactions. Collision theory of bimolecular reactions. Collision theory of bimolecular reactions. See, here bimolecular reaction means the molecularity of this particular reaction is 2, isn't it? And also molecularity 2, for example, we can write the equation like this: AA giving products. And here, what about the rate? How will you write the rate of this reaction? Rate is equal to the constant K2. See, I am writing it as K2, the rate constant. So rate is equal to K2 into concentration of A square, isn't it? That we had written already. And suppose let the concentration of A, let it be 1 mole per liter. Okay, let the concentration of A, let it be 1 mole per liter. So what happens if A is equal to 1? What about this equation? If you are substituting in this equation, the rate will be equal to K2, isn't it? Rate will be equal to K2, and also this rate can be calculated by using another equation, that is rate is equal to K2. That means K2, there is a formula for calculating K2, that is equal to Z11 into Q. This Z11 you have studied, and this equation, it is based on the collision theory. According to this collision theory, Z11 you have studied in our last semester, isn't it? What is Z11? Z11, it is the number of collisions per second. Z11 is the number of collisions per second, and Q is the fraction of molecules possessing threshold energy. Already we have seen fraction of molecules possessing threshold energy. Fraction of molecules possessing threshold energy, that is Q. Okay, so Z11 is the number of collisions per second and Q is the fraction of molecules possessing threshold energy that we have seen. For molecule to have effective collisions will be by only a very small fraction of molecules. That fraction of molecules, it is denoted by this letter Q. Okay, so we have the formula rate is equal to Z11 into Q. So you have to use this particular equation throughout in this derivation. Okay, so you have to study this formula by heart. So let us write the formula for calculating Z11. What is Z11? It is the number of collisions per second. So Z11 is equal to half into root 2 pi sigma square n square into C bar, isn't it? You have studied it already. Half into root 2 pi sigma square n square and C bar. Then what about the terms in this? What is sigma? Sigma is the collision diameter. I hope you are remembering all these things. Sigma is the collision diameter. Then n, what is n? N is the total number of molecules. N is the total number of molecules. And what is C bar? C bar is the average velocity. C bar is the average velocity, and C bar is equal to square root of 8 RT divided by pi m. C bar is equal to square root of 8 RT divided by pi m. Okay, so these are the some of the abbreviations here. So Z11, the number of collisions per second, can be calculated by using this formula. And also there is another term Q, the fraction of molecules colliding, isn't it? So Q or having threshold energy. So what is Q? Q can be calculated by the formula Q is equal to n star divided by n. And this n star, what is this n star? N star, it is the number of molecules having threshold energy. Okay, number of molecules having threshold energy. And what is n? N is the total number of molecules. Okay, n star is the number of molecules having threshold energy divided by n, the total number of molecules. So again, this n star divided by n, this value, it will be equal to e raised to minus Ea divided by RT. Okay, this formula also you have to study. Q is equal to n star divided by n, that is equal to e raised to minus Ea divided by RT. So let us substitute in the equation, that is Z11 is equal to, what is Z11? Z11 is equal to root 2 by 2, isn't it? That is 1 by root 2, isn't it? 1 by root 2 pi sigma square n square into C bar into, again you have to substitute for this C bar. What is C bar? C bar is root of 8 RT divided by pi m. Okay, so we have to substitute 1 by 2 into root 2 pi sigma square n square into C bar. Sorry, instead of C bar you have to write this root of 8 RT divided by pi m. Root of 8 RT divided by pi m. Okay, n square into root of 8 r. So after simplifying, so here it becomes 1 by root 2. Then again 2 root 2. Root of 8 means it is 2 root 2. So after cancelling we will be having, it will be like this, 2 pi into sigma square, then n square into root of RT divided by pi RT divided by m. Pi will be coming in the numerator. Okay, so I am writing the pi here, pi RT divided by m. Here 1 pi, see here in the denominator pi, isn't it? So pi by root pi, isn't it? So that means pi, we can write it as pi is equal to root pi into root pi. So root pi into root pi divided by root pi. So 1 root pi got cancelled. So the remaining will be 1 root pi, isn't it? So that root pi I am putting it here. So we can write it as Z11 is equal to 2 pi sigma square n square into root of pi RT divided by m. Okay, so this is the formula for calculating Z11. Again, see if we are having two different reactants. See, here we have taken this A plus A giving products, isn't it? Suppose here two different reactants are present, then we can write it like this. The equation will be instead of n square we have to write as instead of n square we have to put it as n1 and n2, and instead of sigma we can put it as sigma 1 plus sigma 2 divided by 2. Okay, so if the reactants are different, and also the formula is very much a very big formula, it is not present in your syllabus. So if the reactants are different, then you have to substitute for n square is equal to n1 into n2 and sigma is equal to sigma 1 plus sigma 2 divided by 2. Okay, so again the formula will be formula for this number of collisions. Then we can write it as, instead of Z11 we can write it as Z12. Okay, Z12 is equal to, so how will you write? Instead of n square you have to put it as n1 n2. Okay, so the formula will be equal to, I am writing it here. So Z12 is equal to n1 n2 into sigma 1 plus sigma 2 by 2 the whole square into root of 8 pi kBT divided by m. Okay, so this is the formula if the reactants are different. Okay, if the reactants are different, so you have to put, instead of n square we have to put it as n1 and n2, and instead of sigma square you have to keep it as sigma 1 plus sigma 2 by 2 the whole square. Okay, then what about kb? Kb is equal to, how will you calculate kb? Kb is equal to r by na. That is also we are substituting here in this equation. Okay, so you have to study this formula also, just keep it in mind. Okay, so here if the reactants are the same then it is Z11, and if the reactants are different then it is Z12. So you can calculate rate. So rate is equal to, the formula already we had written, it is Z11 into Q. So you have to substitute for Z11 and Q. So what is Z11? It is 2 pi sigma square n square, isn't it? 2 pi sigma square n square into square root of pi RT divided by m into, then into Q. What is Q? Q is equal to, we had written already, Q is equal to e raised to minus EA divided by RT, isn't it? So instead of Q we can write it as e raised to minus EA divided by RT. So let it be equation number 1. Then next step, you have to compare this equation 1, comparing equation 1 with Arrhenius equation. Comparing equation 1 with Arrhenius equation. So what is Arrhenius equation? K is equal to A into e raised to minus EA divided by RT. You have studied this equation, isn't it? What is A here? A is the pre-exponential factor. Okay, A is the pre-exponential factor. A is the pre-exponential factor. Okay. So here you have to compare this equation 1 with the Arrhenius equation. So what about this equations? What about this A? A we can equate it with this particular term, that is A is equal to Z11. This term is Z11, isn't it? So A is equal to Z11. So thus from this equation we can calculate the value of A, isn't it? So A is equal to the number of molecules which are the number of collisions per second, isn't it? So that is so while comparing this equation number 1 with Arrhenius equation, we will be getting the value of A. A is called as the pre-exponential factor and is equal to Z11. Okay, so you have to study this also. See, suppose so here we have seen if same type of reactant molecules and for different types of reactant molecules, isn't it? Then one more case is there mentioned in your textbook, that is for complex reactant molecules. For complex reactant molecules. So for complex reactant molecules, we can write this equation K2 is equal to, or rate is equal to, there is another factor P into Z11 into e raised to minus EA divided by RT, that is Z11 into Q. Okay, so here one more factor is also introduced, that is P, isn't it? So here what is P? P is the probability factor or the steric factor. P is the probability factor or the steric factor, probability or steric factor. And also this probability factor or the steric factor, it is related to the geometry of that particular molecule. The value depends upon the geometry of that molecule. So here what is the factor influencing? It is the steric effect which is influencing. That is the bulkiness of the group or the crowding of the group will be influenced here. Okay. So for complex reactant molecules, we can write the equation, or we can change the equation by multiplying with another factor P. Okay, so this is about the theory of bimolecular reactions. Okay, collision theory of bimolecular reaction. Then the next is the theory of unimolecular reactions. So hope you are clear up to this. You have to, first of all, you have to write the rate equation. Then you have to by heart this formula. Rate is equal to K2 is equal to Z11 into Q. Then you have to substitute the formulas for Z11 and Q. Okay, then just mention this Z12. This theory of unimolecular and theory of bimolecular reactions, both are very, very important. Okay, collision theory of bimolecular reaction and collision theory of unimolecular reaction, it is very, very important. So that is why I am taking it as a single video. So next is the theory of unimolecular reactions. Theory of unimolecular reactions. That is Lindeman's mechanism. Lindeman's mechanism. So here this unimolecular reactions means here we will be considering the reactions with molecularity. Unimolecular means the molecularity will be equal to 1, and also automatically what about the order? Order will also be equal to 1. Okay. So this theory of unimolecular reactions, it is based on this Lindeman's mechanism. It is also very important. You please don't skip these two portions. Okay. So there are some points related to this Lindeman's mechanism. And also I am doing it, I think it is somewhat, my note is somewhat different from your text. Okay, I think it will be easy for you to study the notes which I am giving. Okay, so next, the first point is that according to this Lindeman's mechanism, the first point is that the energy required to break the bond of a gaseous molecule. Okay, the energy required to break the bond of a gaseous molecule, it is very high according to this Lindeman's mechanism. Okay, the energy required to break the break the bonds present in a gaseous molecule, it is very high. So as a result, what happens is that the energy acquired by the gaseous molecule, the energy, suppose, see, consider this reaction, A plus M giving A star plus M. See, this energy, it is the energy will be acquired by the molecule A as a result of the collision with its neighbor M. Okay, suppose A and M are neighbors, and if A will be colliding with M, A will be getting some energy from this neighboring molecule M. M is the neighboring molecule. Okay, so A will be getting some extra amount of energy from its neighboring molecule, so that A becomes A star. Okay, so A got activated. So this A will be activated due to the collision with M, and as a result A becomes A star. So what is A star? A star is the activated molecule here. A star is the activated molecule. Okay, then that is the first point. So the energy required to break the bonds present in a gaseous molecule is very high, and also the gas molecule A, while on collision with its neighboring molecule M, it will be acquiring some amount of energy, and this A will be converted to A star. So that A star means it is the activated molecule, where M is the neighboring molecule. So that is the first point. Then the second point is that the activated molecule do not decompose easily. Okay, next point, activated molecule do not decompose easily. That means some time lag will be there for the activated molecule to decompose. Okay, do not decompose easily means there will be a time lag for the activated molecule to decompose. Time lag will be there for the decomposition. Time lag will be there for the decomposition. So here what happens is that during this time lag, what happens is that the activated molecule will be deactivated. There is a chance for deactivation by colliding with another molecule, isn't it? First of all, the activated molecule for decomposition, some time lag will be there. So during this time lag, the activated molecule will be getting deactivated. That's a chance. Okay, the activated molecule will be deactivated by colliding with another molecule. By colliding with another molecule. The activated molecule will get deactivated by colliding with another molecule. So let us write the equation. So let activated molecule means it will be A star. So it will be colliding with the neighboring molecule, that is M. So again this step, it will be deactivated. That means again this A star becomes A and M. Okay, so here deactivation takes place. Deactivation of the molecule occurred. Okay, so here we can put it as the rate constant K2, and in the first equation we can put it as K1. Okay, so in the second step, the activated molecule while colliding with the neighboring molecule, it gets deactivated. So this is the deactivation stage. Or there is another chance, isn't it? One chance is for deactivation, and what is the other chance? The molecule can be, the activated molecule can be decomposed into products, isn't it? So that is the next chance. The activated molecule can be decomposed into products. That is the second chance. So first chance it is deactivation, and the second chance it can be converted to products. So this A star, this is the activated molecule, it is then converted to products. So we can put it as K3, the rate constant. So here what occurs? Decomposition of the activated molecule happens. Okay, decomposition of the activated molecule occurs. So therefore we can write the rate of decomposition of the product, isn't it? Rate of decomposition of the product, that is d by dt of product, that is equal to K3 into A star. That is equal to K3 into A star. Okay. So that gives the rate of decomposition of the products. Then the next is you have to apply steady state approximation in this equation. So for that you have to know what do you mean by steady state approximation. This is very important. Steady state approximation. Lindemann's mechanism itself is very important, and among this, steady state approximation is also very, very, very important. So let us see what is a steady state approximation. See, we had talked about a time lag of for the decomposition of the activated molecule, isn't it? So the steady state approximation means the number of, I will be writing the definition for steady state approximation. That is the number of activated molecules. Activated molecules means it is A star, isn't it? The number of activated molecules present at any time. Present at any time during the course of the reaction. During the course of the reaction is very small. Is very small and remains constant for a time period. And remains constant for a time period. So this is called as the steady state approximation. That means number of activated molecules present at any time during the course of the reaction. It will be very small, isn't it? A star will be, the number of A star will be very small, and it will be, it will remains constant during that time lag. Okay, so after that particular time lag, what happens? This A star can either be deactivated or it can be decomposed, isn't it? So the number of activated molecules or the number of A star will be remaining a constant. Okay, so then the next step is that by applying this steady state approximation, you have to apply steady state approximation in the above steps. Okay, by applying steady state approximation, the rate of formation of A, this step is very important. The rate of formation of A star will be equal to the rate of decomposition of the rate of formation of A star will be equal to the rate of decomposition of A star. Okay, so here we are applying this steady state approximation. That means the number of A star will be remaining constant. That is, the formation of A star will be equal to the decomposition of A star. Okay, so you have to find out from the above equations the formation of A star, isn't it? So formation of A star, at what all equations we will be having? See, in this equation, see, A plus M giving A star. So here only thus A star is formed, isn't it? In all other steps, what happens? This A star is decomposed. So here you have to write this equation, that is the rate of formation of A star means it will be equal to K1 into concentration of A into concentration of M, isn't it? So that is the rate of formation of A star. So from this equation, K1 into A into M. K1 into concentration of A into concentration of M. That gives the rate of formation of A star. That is equal to, then you have to find out the rate of decomposition of A star. So we have discussed two steps, isn't it? One is deactivation and the other one is decomposition. So in both the cases, this A star is decomposed, isn't it? So you have to give the sum of these two. That is K2 in this reaction. Also this A star is decomposed, and also in this reaction also A star is decomposed. If you need, you can give the equation number also. Okay. So here we can write it as K2 into A star into M plus again K3 into A star. Okay. The sum of both deactivation and decomposition. K2 into A star into M plus K3 into A star. That gives the rate of decomposition of A star, isn't it? See here A star is decomposed to A. Here also A star is decomposed to products. Okay. So let us write the rate of decomposition of A star, that is equal to K2 into A star into M plus K3 into A star plus K3 into A star. Okay. Then again K1 into A into M, that is equal to, then here A star is common, isn't it? So A star we can put outside the bracket, that is equal to K2 into concentration of M plus K3, isn't it? K2 into M plus K3. I am putting it like this bracket, otherwise you will be getting confused. So what about A star? From this equation you can calculate A star. So what is A star? A star is equal to K1 into concentration of M, A into concentration of M, A into M divided by K2M plus K3. K2M plus K3, isn't it? So this is the number of activated molecules, or A star. A star will be equal to K1 into A into M divided by K2M plus K3. Okay. Then again, what about the rate of decomposition of products? Rate is equal to d by dt of products. We have written already. Rate is equal to d by dt of products. That is equal to, how will you calculate? It is K3 into A star, isn't it? We had already written K3 into A star. Okay. Then see, using this equation, you have to consider two cases, and the first case is that, see, when K2M, it is very much greater than K3. When K2M is very much greater than K3. Okay, so in this equation you have to substitute. When K2M is very much greater than K3 means you can neglect this K3, isn't it? This K3 can be neglected. So A star is equal to, write this equation once again. A star is equal to K1 into concentration of A into M divided by K2M plus K3. K2M is very much large while comparing with that of K3. So we can neglect this K3. So here it will be K2M. K3 can be neglected. K3 is negligible. K3 is negligible. Okay. So then again this M got cancelled. So therefore A star is equal to K1 I think I missed one step, no? K1 into A into M divided by K2M. Sorry, I missed one step. Sorry. See here, we got this rate is equal to d by dt of products, isn't it? That is K3 into A star. I missed this step. So rate is equal to K3 into A star. So therefore we can write this equation as rate is equal to K3 into A star. What is A star? A star is equal to this value, isn't it? A star is equal to K1 into concentration of A into concentration of M divided by K2M plus K3, isn't it? So you have to substitute for this rate of that particular unimolecular reaction, isn't it? So rate is equal to K3 into A star. Then you have to substitute for A star in this equation. Just put the value of A star. So we will be getting the rate like this. Rate is equal to K1 K3 into A into M divided by K2 M plus K3. Okay. Then the next is we can have two cases. And the first case, just as I said earlier, that is K2M very much greater than K3. Okay. So we can neglect this K3 value. So by substituting this value in this equation, how will you calculate rate? Rate is equal to K1 K3 into A into M divided by K2M. So the K3 can be neglected, divided by K2M. K3 can be neglected. Okay. So here again, what about this M got cancelled? So rate will be equal to K1 K3 into concentration of A divided by K2. Okay. Again this K1 K3 by K2 all are constants, isn't it? So we can put it as K dash. Okay. That is equal to K dash into concentration of A. Rate is equal to K dash into concentration of A. So here, what about the rate equation? Rate is equal to K dash into concentration of A. That means the reaction is first or second order. The reaction is of first order with respect to A. The reaction is of first order with respect to A. That is the first case. Okay. Then coming to the second case. So hope you are clear with this. Here the first condition when K2M is very much greater than K3. Then the second condition is that when K3 is very much greater than K2M. Okay, that is the second case. Case 2. When K3 is very much greater than K2M. So rate is equal to, what is the formula for rate? Rate is equal to K1 K3 into A into M divided by K2M plus K3, isn't it? This is the rate expression for a unimolecular reaction. So again K3 is very much greater than K2M. So we can neglect this K2M, isn't it? So that is equal to K1 K3 into A into M divided by, we can neglect this K2M, so divided by K3. This term will be negligible. K2M is negligible. K2M is negligible. So that is equal to K3 got cancelled. It will be equal to K1 into concentration of A into concentration of M. Okay, so here A and M are the reactant molecules. See, what about the rate? Rate depends upon two factors, isn't it? That is, rate depends upon concentration of A and concentration of M. So what about the rate here? what about the order of this reaction? The reaction is of a second order reaction. The reaction is of second order reaction. Okay, since the rate depends upon the concentration of A and concentration of M. So these are the two cases while we are studying this Lindemann's mechanism or theory of unimolecular reactions. Hope you are clear. This Lindemann's mechanism, it is very important, and also you have to study this, all these points. You just read the notes. I think it will be better to follow the notes. Okay, otherwise you will be sometimes confused with the textbook. So if you have, so this steady state approximation is also very important. You have to study the definition and also how to apply the steady state approximation. Okay, hope you are clear. So this chapter is over. That is it is almost over. This kinetics part is over. Then the remaining portion, it is catalysis and ionic equilibrium. Okay. So this kinetics part is over. So it is your duty to study all these portions. Okay. So in next video, I will be giving you this catalysis. Okay, catalysis, the theory of catalysis, and also I think there is a steady state approximation is there. That also you have to study. Okay, thank you.